Hello and welcome to another episode of Will You Accept This Rose? I'm everyone's favorite host. It's not Caitlin or Tasha, Veronica Gail. Alongside me is Emily Feazal and Wilnir Lewis. Guys, how we doing today?
Happy to be back.
I'm also happy to be back, especially for the season finale. This is going to be some exceptional conversation.
Oh, I am very excited for this conversation. We have reached the end. We have reached the end of Katie's jersey. The final rose has been handed out. Before we get into that, let's start with the beginning of the episode. We start with Blake's one-on-one. They have this painting date. What did we think of this date, this one-on-one? Thoughts?
Well, I'm not going to lie. Katie loves to see men getting dirty. And I think that's something that we saw throughout the entire season. And I just thought that, yes, it's a very fun date to have, I guess, with everything that happened with Katie in that past week. So to do that little painting date and throw paint balloons and get messy, I guess that was fun and a calm date to have with Blake. But I don't know. It was just a very forgettable date. I'm not going to lie. I had to kind of rewatch it to double check, what was the painting date. I thought they actually had paint for a second, but it was just paint balloons. So it was, I guess a fun date, but it wasn't really anything crazy or anything spectacular or anything notable compared to all the other dates that she had throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree. I love the fun, quirky dates that they do sometimes. Remember Zach and Tasha's fountain date from Tasha's season? I love that one. It was so cute. They had so much chemistry, and this one I wasn't feeling it. I feel like I'm gonna say this a lot this episode, and you're definitely gonna get tired of me saying this, but I don't see it. I don't see the chemistry there, and that just felt kind of forced to me. We're forced to have fun, you know?
It could just because I'm a really big fan of 10 Things I Hate About You, because that seemed right from that movie. If you remember, I don't remember the characters' names, but Joker actor, what's his name?
Joaquin.
with the it's
I don't know.
I don't know
hair.
What you're talking about. I don't know. Anyway, 10 Things I Hate About You, that great rom-com, they have this whole scene where they throw paint at each other, and I was like, oh my god, it's just like the movie. So I loved it, but I could see how if you're not a fan of that movie, it's not the best. And then the date goes on. Honestly, I thought the date was pretty boring until they sit down at dinner and they say I love you to each other, which Katie said she was saving for the final guy. Did we see that coming?
I didn't. I did not see that coming. It just felt so out of the blue, especially after an unremarkable date. And I know she said that there was a little bit of time in between Greg leaving and the date with Blake. I don't know how long that was, a day, 2 days, but she has this massive heartbreak over not saying I love you to somebody. And then immediately the first guy that she sees, she's able to say I love you to. I did not see that coming. I really thought she was going to hold out.
I'm not going to lie, that shows that Greg was the martyr in this situation, because I felt because of that conversation that she had with Greg, and because Greg was a top candidate in her eyes, and that she lost Greg because she didn't say I love you to Greg, then that's why she decided okay, with Blake, I guess I'll feel something, because at that point it's either Blake or Justin, and we're going to get into it after this, but she wasn't feeling Justin. So I felt at that point, when you're with those two options, probably your third and fourth option out of the four that was left originally, she decided to jump the gun and decided to finally say, you know what, Blake is going to be the one. I love you, Blake. I didn't expect her to be as outgoing as she did, throwing a little explicitive in it to say that she really does love him. But I felt because of everything that happened with Greg, and because she lost Greg the way that she did, that she had to step up and say something to Blake. But I felt that's what she had to do. But me personally, I thought she was going to fold again and not say it and just look at Blake and just be you know what, you look interesting or something like that. But I could also see why she felt she had to say it at that moment.
My thing is, and my big question is, if Greg and Michael A were still in the picture, would she have said, I love you? It's because, let's be honest, Justin should not have made it this far. It should have been Andrew S. Do we all agree on that here, this panel?
100%.
Amazing. Justin, come on. if they had a rose ceremony at the end of Hometowns, Justin was going home. We all knew it. We all saw it coming. So it was just like, I felt so forced because he was like the only real candidate left. But they have their fantasy suite moment, and then we finally get into, now she's got to say goodbye to Justin. I personally actually fell asleep during this moment and had to rewatch it the next morning because that's how uninterested I was for this goodbye. Anyone else? Anyone find it interesting?
You know, I knew it was going to come, and I knew it was going to be like that, and I pretty much could have skipped that entire scene and pictured it how I thought it was going to happen, and it would have been the same thing, and I would not have missed anything. It was super predictable. You know, she pulled him aside. She said she picked Blake. He said, oh, I kind of wish I hadn't said I love you. It's the same thing over and over. It happens every season. It's just usually they don't make it to the final two when it's that predictable. And this time it did.
Yeah. Again, like we said, Justin did not deserve to be in the position, but I genuinely thought, like, okay, if he's left in the final two, like, at least let my mans go through everything and, like, at least let him have that date, because he was really excited for the date and, you know, he really wanted to go out and at least have fun. So let him at least go out with a bang and at least have the date, and then, you know, pack him up before you get down to the dinner and the one-on-one conversation. But, like, with the conversation, though, I felt like Justin actually handled it better than probably a majority of the people this season when they got packed up and had to see that black SUV come their way. Like, I felt like he was very composed, maybe because he felt like it was expected, but he was very composed, and you know, him stating like, oh yeah, like, I hope Blake realizes what he has, like everything good that he has and stuff like that. Like, I felt like Justin, out of everybody that was in that, like, was in a situation like that, definitely held his own, definitely tried to hold his head high and just overall, like, be the better person in that situation. So I at least give him credit for that.
I agree. I like Justin. I think he's fun. I think he's really nice. And I think he's fun to watch on TV too. He just wasn't a good fit for Katie, and I'm so surprised he made it into the final four, and definitely he would not have if those guys were still there.
Curious to see if we'll see Justin in Paradise. I don't know if he's on the cast. I know they announced it. I don't remember, but I think he would be a very good contender for Paradise. Definitely shouldn't have made it to the final four. Final five, I was like, okay. Final four.
And I did not like the format. I don't know if that's a format that the Bachelorette usually has, where like the after the rose ceremony is like with each scene. But like, I kind of did not like it that way. Like, I wanted it to just kind of go through everything first and then do the after the rose ceremony, because like, it's after everything. Like, that's how it probably should have been.
That's what they usually do. And I don't know why they didn't do that. I think if anything, they should have started with the Greg drama and then did Justin and Blake. And honestly, I don't even think we needed a final rose after the final rose with Justin. I think they should have just omitted that and just did Greg, show, Blake, and that's it. But I don't edit the show.
Gail, why are you not? I feel like you should be the one to be a part of the show. I
ABC,
feel like you should be.
Hire me.
We've talked about this on Rose before, about how Justin doesn't get much screen time. And I remember weeks ago when I was on Rose, and I don't even think we were down to final four yet. We were talking about Justin has to go home soon, right? He has to go home soon because he doesn't have any screen time, so he must not be that important. And somehow he managed to get down to the final two. And that makes me think, yeah, what were they doing behind the scenes that we didn't get to see? Because as we know, he was final two by default. But he was still in final four, which means she had to pick him over Andrew S. for a reason. What was that reason? What haven't we seen? And what's the producer's beef with Justin that he's not in as much as he needs to be in? Because I would have loved to see more Justin and Katie interaction. I think he's interesting. But, you know, we didn't get that. And it does make me wonder what was going on that we didn't see.
I do think Katie only picked Justin because Andrew S. lives not in America, like not even in the continent. So that's honestly the reasoning. I thought she just picked Justin was because she didn't want to deal with that living arrangement, which is like a fair reasoning, I guess. Like that is a full ocean. Like, that's a lot. But I agree. I think Justin needed more screen time. And I think they should have switched Andrew S.'s amount of screen time and Justin's amount of screen time. Just to make us like Justin a little bit more. Like everyone knew either Blake was winning or no one was winning. It was kind of ridiculous. Then Blake meets Katie's family. Again, I thought this was very predictable. Classic. They meet the family. But then Blake goes ring shopping with Tayshia. So he basically went ring shopping with his ex, and that doesn't sit with me right at all. Did we think anything of this? I thought it was super weird. I thought they should have had him go with Caitlyn. I don't know. What do we think?
Can I jump in and rewind just really quick?
Of course.
You know, we talk about him meeting the family. It is pretty bland until he talks to the aunt, right? Because I was so uncomfortable now that was going on. She's just grilling him. And I get, okay, there's a difference between, you know, Katie's whole season was about empowered women, super, you know, independent, strong women. I love that. I loved her for the Bachelorette for that reason. I liked Katie as the Bachelorette. And I think that she was the aunt, maybe that she got some advice from the producer, some, you know, advice that actually wasn't in her best interest, framed to be her best interest for better TV, about how you really have to project yourself as a strong woman here, right? Because I didn't feel real to me. It just felt too intense all the time. You don't matter. How come the other Bachelorettes didn't pick you? Nobody wanted you. I was like, dang. Like,
nah, that aunt was definitely up to no good with that one. I mean, like, it's understandable though, because like this is Blake's third girl. Like, definitely, you know, what happened in those other relationships that you gotta go back onto the show and try to find another girl. Like, from the aunt standpoint, like looking at it from that perspective, it does make sense there. Like, what's wrong with you that you needed to go to my, you feel me, family member for that? Like, I definitely kind of understand like where that's coming from, but like she did grill the mess out of Blake. Like, it was just, it was ugly. It definitely showed that like she wasn't feeling him. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Like, she definitely did not want Katie to be with Blake, and it was prevalent in the way that she was speaking to him.
100%. 100%. And then we get into this proposal. Let's talk about this proposal. It is beautiful daytime. She's in the desert. There's carpets. This is my first issue with this proposal. She's in this. There's multiple issues with this.
She has
proposal.
an itemized list ready to go.
Honestly, basically, yes. All right. First issue. They have her walking in the dirt to get to the proposal. Wilnir, I see Wilnir with the pen and paper, literally writing this down. The bottom of her dress was disgustingly dirty.
Yes. Oh my
This is your
God.
Bachelorette, and you're gonna let her walk through the dirt and ruin her nice, expensive dress. For this, it was ridiculous, unacceptable.
It's the angle for me of her holding the dress open. And I was in pain. I was in physical pain. Why would you do that to her? Girl, lay out the red carpet. Y'all have like 18 carpets up there. Take one of them to use it as a runner. Why would you do that? It doesn't look good. It's not causing drama. You know, it's just, why? Why was that there?
We needed like Caitlyn and Tayshia to like hold up the dress for her as she walked, like you do in like a wedding.
Oh, that would have been cute.
Thank God she wore green. What if she wore white? Most of the times they were white. It would have been disgusting. It would have been no, not for me. That was my first issue. My second issue with this proposal is the quote, and I wrote it down. He couldn't give Katie everything she wanted because she deserves a lot more than that. And then proposes. Okay. Thoughts on that line. That threw me off. I thought he wasn't going to propose after that. That sounded like, you're not proposing. And he did.
I'll definitely hold on before we get to that line specifically, because you talked about Katie's side of that proposal. I just want to touch on Blake's side of the proposal before that quote, because it definitely did not seem like he wanted to propose whatsoever. And I felt like once Katie jumped the gun and spoke first on that proposal, Blake kind of felt like at that moment, like, ooh, I probably have to do it, because, you know, body language speaks a lot about a person. And the way that he wasn't really smiling when Katie was saying stuff, he wasn't really looking at her when Blake was saying his stuff, like, he just didn't seem like he wanted to be there. And he just overall just felt very uncomfortable being in that situation. So in terms of Blake's body language and standpoint, like I just felt like he just didn't want to be there. That felt uncomfortable for me watching, just the way that he was trying to react into her stuff. In terms of the quote, like I don't. Why would you? You're about to marry I'll say a lovely lady. Katie's a lovely lady. She's cool. She's calm. She's collective. She has a personality. She's solid. You feel me? You're about to propose to a lovely lady, and the quote that you say right before you go down on a knee is, "I don't think I have everything that you deserve." Like, huh? Like, you're supposed to, when you marry somebody, you're supposed to be with them for the rest of their life. Katie's about 30. I'm pretty sure Blake's 30 as well. If let's say they live up to like 75, which is me making it minimized. Like that's the low ball. So you're supposed to be with this girl for 45 years. And that's what marriage is. But you don't feel like you can provide everything that she deserves. Like, why would you say that? And this is coming from somebody that's been friend zoned a lot during my young days, not during college. I'll say that though. I'm definitely a better man in college, but high school, middle school was definitely a little bit of a struggle. When that quote was said, it made it seem like he was about to friend zone her. It made it seem like he was like, all right, like I don't deserve, you deserve the world. I don't have the world to give you, but I'll be with you every step of the way. Like, that just makes it seem like, oh yeah, we're gonna be homies, we're gonna be cool, but like, yo, homegirl, she look kind of good. I need you to put me on her. Like, that's what that quote seemed like to me. So overall, that proposal was some hot dog water. I'm disappointed that I had to see that on primetime television, a 3-hour special, and it disgusted me. It absolutely disgusted me.
That might be my new favorite comparison on the show. That proposal was like hot dog water. Direct quote.
Disappointed he had to see it on primetime TV. I like that.
That's a New York Times review. Disappointed it was on primetime TV. Put it on a billboard.
I'll say 2 things about the proposal, okay? 1, right before the proposal, right, they're doing the Burning Man thing about all their worries. And Blake
looks so weird.
So uncomfortable. He is not feeling it. He was barely feeling it on the date, the paint throwing date, until he got to make out with her in the grass again. And it just very much felt like it sent me back a couple years to like taking my high school boyfriend to the mall and saying, "Do you like this shirt?" And he's like, "I don't want to be here, dude." Like, that's what it felt like to me. And just totally uninterested until he gets to make out with her. And number 2, as my friends, my fellow PTV people, if you ever catch me looking at rings with my ex-girlfriend and worrying about proposing and then get in a car to propose 2 hours later, you need to get me out of there. You're gonna let him do that? You're gonna let him do that? He was like having a breakdown. He had to walk away from the rings, which his ex-girlfriend was trying to sell to him. That's gotta bring some stuff up. And then he's so, "I don't want to propose. I don't think I could do this." And 2 hours later, he's in a suit on the way to go propose. Did you think that through? Was that 2 hours enough for you? You got some clarity? Because I'm confused. That's all I'll say.
He probably didn't want to propose because he was looking at Tasha like,
Yeah, right.
Like, I might have lost a good one.
That hug after he proposed, him and Tasha's hug, I saw a zoom in on TikTok. There was some energy. There was some heat. There was some fire. Did he just go on the show to hang out with Tasha? Maybe. I said what I said. He could have.
I would not want to be Zach watching that episode.
No, I wouldn't either. It was also, wait, let's talk about that. Zach has to watch his fiance ring shop with her ex.
Who he knows.
Yeah, they're friends.
He's a better man than me. And that's all.
Yeah, that's a no from me. But with this proposal, Blake wins the show. Wreck-It Ralph has gotten the final rose. Dude, what are our thoughts on just like Blake actually winning this show? Because I honestly, when Blake came in, I did not I thought he was going to make it to Final Four. I did not see him making it this far. What are our thoughts?
I don't know how controversial this is going to be. I think Justin could have had a chance if he had the first date. I'll say it. I'm gonna say it because Wilnir's looking like he's about to say something.
Because literally, I put that in my notes. What did I say specifically? If I could find it, but I literally put that in my notes. I was like, it would have been different had he went first.
Same energy. Like he definitely would have gotten the date. I don't know if she would have said "I love you" to Blake at the end of it. Maybe she still would have chosen Blake, but it would have been different because, you know, we talked about this earlier. She felt like she had to overcompensate and say "I love you" for someone she had any kind of feelings for because she's here at the last two. You know, it's one or the other, and she already lost. You know, she had Andrew S., but he left, but that's okay. She still has Michael A. and Greg, and then Michael A. left, but okay, she still has Greg, and then Greg leaves, and she's like, I don't know how I'm feeling about either of these two men that are left. Greg leaves. He says, I'm leaving because you won't say I love you. She feels, I'm speculating here, she feels something for Blake a little bit more than she feels for Justin. She's like, well, like, what if I don't? Then I'm going to be left with Justin by default. And we all know he should have gone home like 3 weeks ago. So she has to make the move. But what if Justin had the first date? What if Justin had the first date and instead of saying, I'm falling in love with you, he said, I'm in love with you. They had a good fantasy suite. What would have happened? Would she have dropped it for both people? Could he have had a chance? Would she not have dropped it for Blake? I don't know.
You know what I'm curious about? Because basically, I feel like the main reason Greg left was because Katie didn't say I love you to him. Is it possible that she only said I love you because she was nervous Blake would leave?
Definitely.
The trauma. She was like, I can't go through it again. I need Blake to stay. And that's the only reason she said it.
Definitely. And I was watching with my friends and we were all just laughing. I couldn't help it at the end when they got engaged. And it just sounds like they're trying to convince themselves that they're happy. They're like, we're engaged. This is good. This is great. I found my soulmate. It just feels so like I'm saying it to convince myself if I say it enough, it will be true. You know, I don't know.
I also found exactly what I said in my notes. I said, like, honestly, in all caps, imagine if Justin did go first. Like, again, a couple of episodes ago when she was deciding, I think it might have been going into the Final Four, like when she was deciding on who to leave. I remember her specifically talking about Blake and had said something along the lines like, it was something, she had some reserve to Blake. I don't remember specifically what the reserve was, but she had some type of reserve of him even going into the Final Four. I feel like what Veronica had said about Andrew S. is probably the reason why she decided to go with Blake at the end, was just because Andrew lives across the pond and water and oceans, and she didn't want to do that. But hey, I mean, we could go to Canada, that'll be fine. And like, she had even stated too, like Greg was definitely a top candidate. She had stated, Michael A., I imagined seeing myself with his kid and him. Like, to say that about those two and just having them two leave, and now you're left with Blake and Justin, where again, Justin, everybody could probably agree that us and probably everybody else in Bach Nation can agree that Justin probably didn't deserve to go that far. To get left with just that one person, to be on a season when your whole mentality was, I need to leave with somebody at the end of this. I need to get engaged at the end of this. I'm doing this because I want to get engaged. I feel like my person is in this room every single time, every single episode when she went to the rose ceremony. So to be left with that final two and having to make a decision, I mean, Blake was definitely the easier decision than Justin. And it sucked for her because your top two packed themselves up and got up out of there. So you had to go with your third choice, and that third choice just happened to be Blake.
Really have to hate to see it. But this was, I would say, the best part of this episode was Craig and Katie talking. She came in guns a-blazing, like ready to take this man alive. What was our thoughts on this conversation? Wilnir, please.
This conversation made me mad to no end. I was going to say a different word, but I don't know if I can say that word or not. But this conversation made me mad to no end because at this point, Greg already left. Katie's already engaged. Why are you going back and forth? What's the reason to still go back and forth at this time? Like, okay, he's an actor, and, you know, from what people told me, you know, he's more outgoing, but I saw a reserved Greg. You're going to be reserved if you knowing that you're going to be on national television. If you actually care about somebody, you're going to be more reserved because you don't know what to give that person. Like, you could be the most outgoing person in the world, but if you look at, and this is speaking from a guy perspective, this is speaking from somebody that's outspoken, as you can tell. If you see a girl that looks good and you want to push up on her and potentially make her your girlfriend, make her your wife, you're going to be more reserved because you're nervous as hell. You feel, you're very nervous. Like, that's a given. This is also coming from somebody that's from New Jersey, like Greg. So for you to say, okay, he was acting and he wasn't that reserved, how is he going to act for 6 weeks? How is he going to act night in and night out and give a different personality than what he normally is? And I'm pretty sure the people that told Katie that Greg is an outspoken person probably only sees Greg probably at night in the bar or something like that at Jersey City. And of course you're going to be outgoing after you have a couple drinks, and you like that part was dumb to me. The fact that they were going back and forth after Katie already proposed and was still with Blake and was still engaged with Blake, and you're still going back and forth with your, I guess you want to say ex, you could say ex, but going back and forth with a potential mate after you already just handled that and now you're engaged was dumb to me. The fact that she used the term gaslighting, I was irritated about that term because I felt like it was just something that she's seen on social media, because the term gaslighting was definitely popular on social media during this whole Bachelor season and just around this time. For whatever reason, gaslighting is a very big word now. So she was like, you know what, Greg, you gaslighted me. And that definitely got the people aroused that was watching it, like, oh my God, she said the word. Oh my God, Greg was gaslighting her. Oh my God, I'm tapped in. When did he really? I mean, that conversation that Greg had, like, yes, I understood where Greg was coming from. At that point, when you're in your final four, you kind of know who's your number one, number two, number three, number four, or who you're really having emotions to. And Greg didn't feel like that Katie had emotions back to him. That's not an issue whatsoever. Of course you would leave if you don't feel like you're getting that reciprocated. Now, should he have left that late? I don't know. But that's when he finally came to that realization. So I don't have issues with him leaving. I don't have an issue with what he said. And I just felt like the conversation was not needed because Greg didn't really lie, because Katie's also engaged. So why have that conversation? And I took up a lot of time on that, but that conversation really irritated me to no ends, because what's the point of having that conversation, Katie? Like, enjoy your man that you decided to select at the end of the day. Enjoy your man that went down on one knee, even though he can't give you everything. Enjoy that. Don't go back and forth with Greg. Just call that a day.
I see where you're coming from. I do, about it not being necessary because she's engaged. But I think also they're in a really unique situation, right? Like, she did not see him after he left. She didn't hear from him. They're not on social media or anything like this. She's just been brewing, and she has to watch her own breakups back. You know what I mean? And I think I agree. Like, the gaslighting term, it irritated me to no end, because that's not what gaslighting is. You're just wrong. That's just not the definition of gaslighting. Somebody told her that and she had to run with it. But it was super manipulative the way that he left. I agreed that her response wasn't great, and she should have said, more than "I just love looking at you." That was cringy. And obviously he needed more than that, but she said, and he knew that she wasn't going to say "I love you" until the end. And could she have handled that better and expressed that better and been like, "Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it. And I have strong feelings for you. I really have strong feelings for you, but I can't say I love you right now." Yes, definitely. So she was definitely at some fault there. But the way that Greg left, you know, coming to her door, making her cry on purpose, leaving her sitting there on the ground by herself to fester, you know, like you need, how could you not know it's me? You have to tell me you love me. Like super, super emotionally manipulative, not gaslighting, but it was super manipulative. She hasn't seen him for forever and she's watching this back. And I just can't imagine how I would feel if I, you know, like if this guy that I was in love with, or at least falling in love with, manipulated me like that one. And then, you know, she begged him to stay. And I don't know what I would have done in that situation. Maybe I would have begged him to stay too. But I know for sure that if I had begged him to stay in the situation, and then later I was reflecting on it, I'm like, I didn't have to do that. I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? And then especially everybody on Twitter being like, oh, she didn't deserve that. I would be so embarrassed. You know what I mean? I'm so embarrassed that I let a man talk to me like that. And I feel like she definitely felt like she had to defend herself and kind of gain some kind of dignity back. Did she maybe go a little bit far? Yeah, the conversation was super uncomfortable, and she maybe have not talked that much with her ex while her fiance was in the back. Yeah, maybe she shouldn't have afforded that much energy to it. That was also uncomfortable. But she also got engaged like a week after they broke up, so it's really unique situations. I also took up a lot of time on that, so my bad.
We have a lot of thoughts, a lot of strong thoughts. It's okay. My thinking is, I still don't understand what Greg is expecting.
Yes.
Because he says, I know you're not going to say you love me. And then she's like, okay, well then like, what do you want for me to do is basically what Katie's saying. And I don't like, just he want her to run away with her and just leave the show. Because then he should just say that and they can just agree to disagree and the conversation can be over. I'm just confused. Like, what is his goal? Like, what more does he want? Like, yes, Katie is talking in these show terms, but how else do you expect her to talk? She's the Bachelorette. I think what she was saying, a lot of it was valid. Gaslighting, not her best choice of wording. Good try, Katie. I actually Googled the definition while I was watching the episode because I was like, I don't think this is right. And it's not right. She messed that up. But it just was like such an odd conversation, you know? So odd. But then Greg leaves. Do we have any more thoughts on Greg before we say goodbye to him forever?
I have a lot of thoughts, but I don't want to take up time. I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right. Well, we don't have much time left. So last thing we're going to talk about is, do we think the couple will stay together? Do we think they'll last? And what's the future for the Bachelor franchise? People, what are we thinking?
Are they going to last? I was going to say that. Yeah, probably a year. Are they going to last?
Year tops. I agree.
Not one bit. Future of Bachelor Nation. I have a list of people, all with potential, I don't know, reserves on them, but my 5 that they could choose: Andrew S., Connor, Justin, Michael A., or Mike the Virgin. In terms of if I had to rank them, probably Justin 1, Connor 2, Andrew S 3, Michael A 4, Mike the Virgin 5. Michael A low because of his kid, Andrew S because of reasons that I won't explain, and Connor because like on the men's health law, like he hooked up with that girl, so that could be foreshadowing. But then Justin, you know, they were like, oh, you know, you must want to feel wanted, and we all want to feel wanted at a point. And I was like, that'd be foreshadowing too. So those are my 5, but I'll say probably either Justin or Connor will probably be the next Bachelor.
Connor B's on Paradise.
Oh, well, scratch Connor then. So it's going to be Justin.
Yeah.
Stamp that.
I want it to be Michael A. I know with the kid, it's probably not going to happen, but I really want it to be Michael A.
I agree, exactly. I would love to see him, but I don't think he'd do it.
Well, that's all the time we have on this episode of Will You Accept This Rose? Feazal, Wilnir, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you again for Michelle's season, so stay tuned.